This session, I want to talk about controls. Now, what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to talk to you about the various controls. I have a few of the controls from the access control that I want to be able to explain to you, give you examples to be able to help you to understand these controls better. Now, when we talk about, we want to start from AC1. Remember that all the ones are what we call the dash one controls, or they are the policy and procedures. Now, what is AC1? Now, AC1 talks about how we are creating rules for how to access our system and how our data is being managed. Now, every organization needs to be able to write down all these regulations down. So when we talk about access control policy and procedure, that is what we are referring to. So think about it that in a company, or imagine that a company has written a policy that says that only employees in the HR department can access employees' salary data. Now, they need to be able to also have a procedure that will explain how this account is being set up and how this rule is being obeyed or this policy is being followed. And so that is what we call a procedure. So every organization needs to have what we call a policy and a procedure. And that is AC1. Now, AC2, account management. Now, this controls ensures that all accounts, people's username, their passwords, their email address are created, updated, and deleted properly. Now, they need to make sure that every account that is being created, who is being given access to the account, who is initiating for us to be able to create this account, who is the one that is having oversight. When this person is no more, when do we take this person out of the system? And this is what we call account management. So when an employee joins a team, now the IT team needs to be able to create an account for them. If someone leaves a company, they need to make sure their account is being disabled so that no one can have access to the account anymore. Then we talk about access enforcement. Now, what it means is that access enforcement means that this control is about making sure that our system blocks people who aren't authorized from getting into certain areas and certain data. And so when you are enforcing this access, we are saying that only finance team can access the company's financial software. If I'm not in the finance department, or if I'm marketing employees trying to log in the system, don't give me access to it. Then we have information flow enforcement. Now, information flow enforcement means how are information being flown within the environment between various systems. How is the information flow going ahead? Because sensitive customer data can only flow between maybe the billing department and the customer support, but not to any third party, or the billing department and the HR. And customer support doesn't need to have those kind of information. Now, the next one is AC5, separation of duty. Now, when we say separation of duty, what we are saying is that this controls ensures that no single person has control over a process. So it reduces mistakes or fraud that are within an environment. So it is saying that we need to make sure that there is no overlap. If you are a manager in this department, he's also a manager in the other department, and everyone have their separate duties that they are going by. So if you work in a bank, one person processes the payment, the other person approves the payment. You who are processing the payment cannot approve it. In this way, there is checks and balances, and that is what separation of duty does. And it's very close to what we call the least privilege. And the next one is least privilege. Least privilege means that users should only have minimum access that they need to be able to do their job and nothing more. So if you are a receptionist at a hotel, you need access to your scheduling software, but you don't need access to the customer's payment data or sensitive information. Your job is to schedule interviews. That's what you are doing. You are not doing any kind of payments. Then you have the next one that is all successful logon attempts, which is something that I'm pretty sure that all of us have been able to use before, because in one way or the other, you've been logged out of your system before. So this control says that limit how many times someone can try to log in before the system logs them out to prevent hackers from guessing password. So if you type your password wrongly for about 5 or 6 times within a 2 minutes period, log the person out. Give the person 10 minutes or 20 minutes before the person can try again with a different password. So if someone tries to log into the account but enters a wrong password like 7 or 8 times, the account should temporarily be locked until they reset their password or go ahead and do all the security checks. And I'm sure you have done that before. ACA talks about system use notification. Now, when you say system use notification, this is a message that you get mostly before you log into an environment, explaining the rules for using that system or telling you about that this system is a sensitive environment you are entering. You need to be able to make sure you are protecting this, and which majority of the time we don't read it. But that is system use notification. Then previous logon access information. Now, the previous logon notification notifies users about their last login so that they can notice if someone else has logged into the account. So when you log into your account, you see that mostly on the top right corner, I will tell you your last login date because it is being used to make sure that you are aware that nobody has logged into your account. And if you realize that somebody has logged into your account, you'll be able to detect that and let them know. So when you log in and the system says that last login 2 days ago from an unknown device, if that wasn't you, then you see that it's a red flag. You need to be able to make sure that you are changing your password and you are protecting yourself. Then we have AC10, that is concurrent session control. This means that limiting the number of simultaneous logins from the same user to prevent misuse. Why? The system is supposed to allow you to be logged into one computer at a time and not log into two because you are one person. How do you get logged into two computers or two systems at the same time? It's supposed to automatically log you out of one to keep you under check. Then we have AC11 and AC12. Now, AC11 talks about session lock. Now, session locks means that lock the screen after a period of inactivity to prevent unauthorized access if someone walks away from their computer. So if you stop using your laptop for 10 minutes, you realize that by the time you come back, the screen has locked. Now, when you come back, you need to type in just your password because it knows who you are. So it just needs you to type in your password. But when it comes to the brother, that is AC12 session termination, it says that log the users out when they are done or inactive for too long. Meaning that this time around, it takes you completely out of your system. And when you come back, you have to type in your username and your password. Don't get confused with the two. The AC11 talks about just typing in your password. The AC12 talks about typing in your username and your password. So mostly when you go and you forget to log out of your banking application, it will automatically log you out after 10 or 15 minutes, depending on how much the bank has sent to it. And mostly, if all the government website, you have all those there that you need to be able to talk about it. Yes, I've talked about this. I can talk also about AC17, remote access. Now, what is remote access? Now, remote access or this control also manages who can access our system from outside the office. If you are accessing our system from outside the office, we need to make sure that we are protecting our system. So what do we do? So what we are saying is that we need to make sure that you are putting in the right controls. We are putting in the right controls. So we say log in through a VPN or a virtual private network, which is like a tunnel that leads you straight into our environment. And that can help you and help us to be able to streamline the kind of information you're accessing, know what you are doing. And that is what mostly there is remote work that came about we used to do. Then we can also talk about AC18, wireless access. Now, this control also manages access to the system via wireless connections. And only devices with the right credentials can connect to a company's Wi-Fi network. Visitors may be given a separate or limited access. When you get to an airport, you realize that they have a guest Wi-Fi, or you go to a hotel, there's a guest Wi-Fi. Then there's also a Wi-Fi for people who are sleeping in the hotel or people who have the right credentials to be able to log in. And this one that I want to cover under the control section. I'll see you in the next class.